Welcome. This is DawgSports Live, the first ever DawgSports Live. I am Graham Coffee. You might know me as Dog Out West on Twitter and on SB Nation's Dog Sports. This is Mr. Josh Hancher himself, aka Dog Stats, the Excel spreadsheet extraordinaire. This is
expanded playoff provocateur.
Indeed, yes, among other things. Enjoyer of beer, criticizer of postseason formats, connoisseur of many things. We are here to discuss the new SEC schedule release, and this is kind of a new format for us. You'll still be able to find us here on the DawgSports Periscope feed, but we also will be on a new DawgSports Live YouTube channel, and this will be the first thing that ever goes on it. So don't go looking for it quite yet, but once we get it up there, we'll share that link around the internet, and we would love for you to subscribe and follow us there. We're going to be here to talk about the Bulldogs, obviously, but also to talk about the SEC and college football as a whole. We've got a lot, actually, for a random Tuesday in late January. We have the new 2021 schedule. Georgia's hired a new defensive backs coach, and Tennessee has hired a new head coach. So first off, let's get into the schedule. Josh, first impressions.
Well, for all the basketball fans that are lamenting our season, how it's going, G-Day is April 17th, but we knew that already. Of course, we're very excited to start the season with probably the preseason number 2 or 3, Clemson. Then we start the home schedule with the Blazers of University of Alabama, Birmingham. And then our nemesis are now back in early season form, South Carolina in September, rounding out the month of September, Vanderbilt. So if we just break it down by month, that's we start off with a bang and then sort of kind of hopefully get to hone our offensive skills and try out our new secondary against, once we get through the Clemson game, hopefully with a win, we'll have a chance to maybe go into the meat of the schedule in October with some, I don't want to take any wins for granted, but we should be heavily favored in all games not named Clemson. So take me through this the Clemson game and the Blazers and the Gamecocks and Commodores, Graham.
Well, I mean, Clemson is obviously, that's going to be the buzzword, the game that everyone talks about between now and Labor Day, and rightfully so. Like, this is probably going to be preseason top 4 or 5 matchup. Historically, when we've seen these matchups, oftentimes when we get a top 5 matchup like this, like Florida State, Alabama a few years ago, one team ends up being really good and the other team kind of, whoever loses that game tends to struggle throughout the season. That's not a firm rule, but it's definitely important. Historically, if you look back at Georgia's best seasons, kind of since Mark Richt showed up, the years where Georgia has won an SEC title or been in contention for a national title late in the season have usually been years where, like, we have opened up with a big out-of-conference opponent. 2002, we opened up with Clemson. So I think just having that game out there will kind of amp up the level of everything that happens in Athens from a preseason practice, a spring practice standpoint. Like, there's no, like, little sisters of the poor coming to town to play as a opening game scrimmage and work the kinks out. Like, Georgia has got to be ready from the first snap against Clemson, because that's a game where an early turnover or early special teams touchdown could be what decides it at the end. So everyone's got to be ready, which I think is a great thing. I think it'll help press preparation throughout the offseason. UAB is a game that Georgia should win, but I don't want to discount what UAB has done. Bill Clark is a very good coach. He took over there when they kind of came back from all of the Alabama trustees being insecure about having UAB playing football in their state.
And just in my haste, you can see that I've named this the 2018 to 2021 recruiting, which is what a graph I did last night. So this is obviously the schedule. So
Hey,
new Periscope feed, same idiot mistakes by yours truly.
We'll get the kinks worked out, or we won't. But either way,
we would just wanted to jump on and break it down. Sorry to interrupt. You were doing
no, you're good.
You were doing the Vince Dooley and on University of Alabama Birmingham going to give us a fight. So
I mean, I don't think they'll.
Have you seen their punter?
I have not, but I bet he's good. I don't think they'll push us for 4 quarters, but I think that they will. They'll be better than the average bye game that Georgia has from an out-of-conference opponent. Let's put it that way. South Carolina is South Carolina. It's miserable. No one likes it. Nothing good ever happens in that game. At least
it'll be hot
this year. It'll be nice and hot like normal. Yeah, it'll feel like a real South Carolina game. South Carolina is probably going to be total ass this year, so it'll probably be like a nice noon game with, where you can actually feel your scalp burning underneath the sun in Sanford Stadium. So we have that to look forward to. Vanderbilt, I mean, who doesn't want to go to Nashville in late September? That is the SEC's best road trip, so we have that to look forward to. I know we usually take over about 85 to 90% of that stadium, and so now everyone out there in Dog Nation knows when to make their reservations in Nashville last weekend of September.
And do you think there's any extra motivation from the players that missed out on, the last game of the season at home versus Vanderbilt? Do you think, I don't know if we need any, we better not need extra motivation to play Vanderbilt, but that said, I feel like there might be some paybacks. And Kirby doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that's going to run up a score, but new coaching regime there, it's not his old buddy, Derek Mason. So hopefully we will be hitting our offensive stride by then and our defense will be playing pissed off. Going back, I wanted to talk about South Carolina real quick. Going back to it, sure. South Carolina opens up with Eastern Illinois and East Carolina. So they're going to have 2 games under their new head coach to, play some opponents that they'll beat. So I'm not going to say they're going to be rested or anything like that, but it's worth noting that they got 2 easy games before us. So let's I hope that Georgia won't let that be a trap game, but also we'll have some good tape on them. We're going to know what they want to do because they should be able to do some of their things, especially on offense against those 2 opponents.
All right, I got a really hot January take for you here on South Carolina, and that is that whatever happens in that East Carolina game, like there's no telling what the spread on that game is going to be now, but my prediction is that it is not a comfortable lead for South Carolina going into the 4th quarter. They always tend to struggle with like the regional kind of Carolina opponents like that. They should win that game, obviously, but East Carolina can score some points and South Carolina can't in a lot of years. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And that's a road game on top of that, right? Did you mention that?
No, I didn't even realize that. That is embarrassing, South Carolina. What are you doing going to Greenville?
Well, I got a shout out to FBS schedules. I'm just showing there's some screen grabs. So if you're not following them, make sure you follow them and make sure you like them for us. They do remarkable work, and it's got a pretty good sense of humor about it with the crazy 2020 schedule we had and constant updates and stuff. So shout out to them.
Yeah. And I think the big takeaway here on the schedule, right, is like we know we're obviously playing everyone in the Eastern Division, so that's 6 games right there. And then Auburn is always going to be our traditional crossover rival from the West. That game, originally for 2020, that game was scheduled, I believe, to be the last weekend of September, and now we are back over in early October.
October 9th.
October 9th, yeah. So it's getting closer to where it should be, but I really don't like the fact that we're playing Auburn in October. Like that feels like a game that should be a week or 2 before Thanksgiving. And I blame Gus Malzahn for being a pissy little baby for that happening. But we are getting Arkansas again from the West, which is a bit of a surprise because we went there last year. But it's also kind of a great thing for Georgia to get Arkansas back home again. We played them last year. We've got good tape on them. Let's be honest, like if they didn't get us last year with the way that Dwan kind of played in the first half of that game and all of the things that were chaotic about that offense at the time, chances of them sneaking up and biting us in Athens are probably slim to none. The big takeaway here too is that Florida gets Alabama from the West, which I think is absolutely hilarious. How do you feel about that, Josh?
Well, this was all. I think we knew this. When they revamped the schedule for the 10-game SEC schedule last year, that they just wanted to put that in a regular season, and Florida did a good job of campaigning. They didn't want to play that game in an empty stadium when as infrequently as Alabama gets to travel to the swamp. Selfishly, I have some dear friends that have they're Georgia and Alabama couple, and they are going to take their family to every SEC game, and this is the only chance that they have to go to the swamp. So I'm glad for them.
Ooh.
I don't know why you want to go to the swamp, but
yeah.
My man DB Cersei is a GD dang good dog for putting up with that. So, I just hope it's an ugly game.
Make sure everyone in the family gets their tetanus boosters before they head down to Gainesville.
When is that game? That game is pretty early. Yeah, it's in September.
It'll be miserably hot. Yes, it'll be 100% humidity and 94 degrees, and it is sure to be a 3:30 p.m. CBS game.
I've got the Florida schedule. I'm sorry, I got the Alabama schedule up, and they open at Miami. They open with a neutral site, Miami, Southern Miss, and then New Mexico State, and then Mercer. They've got Mercer Bears on the stadium. So
shout out to Macon Dog on the Mercer call out. He is a Mercer aficionado. Yeah, I think honestly though, like this is one of those years. This is one of the better week one schedules I think we've had in terms of the SEC in a while. Alabama at Miami. You've got Georgia playing Clemson at a neutral site in Charlotte. You have LSU going out to Pasadena against UCLA. That's a cool intersectional matchup. If there was some way they could both wear their powder blue uniforms, that would be gorgeous. And Ole Miss playing Louisville in Atlanta on, I believe, Labor Day night. So, like, that's a pretty solid week one slate. And Mississippi State has Louisiana Tech and Starkville, which probably will not be an easy game for them.
No, not at all. La Tech is solid,
Yeah.
So it will continue the Group of Five versus Power Five debate again, and I can talk. And I'll probably use that off to discuss playoff expansion because that's what I do in all my comments. So shout out to John Powell who never lets me get one in without him laughing at me. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think while we're here and we're looking at schedules, Tennessee is an interesting schedule. Like they don't have that big name intersectional matchup, but they do have Pitt coming to Knoxville, which will probably be all that they want and more in year one of the Josh Heupel area.
There are no Georgia State Panthers, so let's just pump the brakes on Pitt.
You're right. Yeah, they have a winning record this year.
And I guess they announced, and of course, I'm sure you mentioned that Heupel got announced today. So there's our token Tennessee mention.
Well, my question for Tennessee is that if you guys needed a guy in Knoxville that could throw 20-yard ducks, why didn't you just keep Jarrett Garantano from hitting the transfer portal?
I think Jarrett Garantano didn't want to be there anymore, but
well, I know, but I'm just saying. Yeah, Josh Heupel, it's an interesting hire. I mean, in case you're not caught up on it, Danny White is the new athletic director at Tennessee. He was hired late last week. You know him from being the guy that was incessantly annoying about UCF being the national champion in the 2017 football season. He has made a lot of good hires in the past. At UCF, he hired Scott Frost, who, was responsible for that undefeated team, then went to Nebraska and is flamed out pretty hard. And then he brought in Heupel, who was the Missouri offensive coordinator at the time, and
I
did a
think
lot of good things with Drew Lock.
And wasn't he at Buffalo and got them up and going? Buffalo was one of the best Group of 5 teams last year, and I believe he hired the coach that kind of is building that program up, if I'm not mistaken.
That might be true. I do not know.
I'm going to go with it. I'm pretty sure I heard that on the Yahoo podcast. There's no way I knew that.
Sounds good.
That's straight up Pete Thamel right there.
But yeah, I mean, I think Heupel, like, it's going to be interesting. Just scrolling around Twitter, seeing the fan reaction from Tennessee, it is not positive. Which it's Tennessee, so unless it's like Gruden, it's not going to be positive.
But okay, let me jump in on the Tennessee because I had it up there a second ago. The Lane train returns to Knoxville, dude. Did you? I'm sure the Tennessee knew that already, but yeah, Knoxville late game.
Oh yeah, on the schedule.
Yeah, Ole Miss. Is it there? I can't remember. It is.
Ole Miss goes to Tennessee. Yeah,
Ole Miss at Tennessee. That'll be. Yeah. Do you think we're going to talk about that a lot?
I think so. I think that will be like the most hyped game involving a 1-5 team, maybe in the history of college football.
This is good stuff. Have we finished our schedule? Do you want to go through the back end of our schedule?
Yeah, let's go. Well, I do want to say one other thing on Heupel, which is that's a fascinating hire because like Danny White, he brought the guy that he hired at UCF to Tennessee. Heupel's a good guy, and I mean, I think that he will at least have a little more like media savvy and PR know-how than Jeremy Pruitt has. But man, like you're coming into a hole in almost certain NCAA sanctions, probably a postseason ban if they can even get to 500. And I know he was in the SEC previously, but recruiting at Tennessee is really hard work. Like, if you look historically, when Tennessee has been good, they have come into Georgia and Alabama and Ohio for players. Like, if you look at their national title team, T. Martin, Al Wilson, Jamal Lewis, Travis Stevens, Peerless Price, all those guys were from Tennessee, or I'm sorry, were from Georgia, Alabama, or Ohio. I think Al Wilson was from Tennessee, actually. But my point being, Kentucky has actually done a really great job of recruiting Southern Ohio. They've, that's where Benny Snell came from. That's where, God, who was the wide receiver that played quarterback for them 2 years ago?
Wilson? No, that was
no.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
He was awesome.
And you guys do too. So,
Yeah, you do too. And then, Georgia and Alabama have really locked down the states of Georgia and Alabama. Auburn historically recruits Georgia well. Everyone is coming into Georgia at this point trying to get players. But yeah, like the nadir of Tennessee football corresponded with some of the lowest eras in the history of Georgia and Alabama football that happened to coincide with one another at the same time in the like mid to late 90s and early 2000s. So point being, it's really hard to imagine anyone coming into Tennessee and really turning it around, but it's really even harder to imagine a guy like Josh Heupel who does not have kind of the like pedigree of putting NFL quarterbacks in, or there's not some big selling point for him. So it'll be interesting to see how he does on the trail and how this plays out over the next few years. Getting back to Georgia's schedule though. So after Arkansas and Auburn, you have Kentucky at home, which
and then we get the bye week back. Before Florida.
So Florida is normal again. Florida is Halloween weekend. Well, it's the night before Halloween this year, which I think that's nice. Everyone can get back to their Halloween trip down to the South Georgia beaches. But I mean, Florida, while we're there, it's like, how do you feel about that game this year? I mean, I know we're 10 months out.
I guess the question is, I mean, right now, do we feel like the SEC East will be decided by that game, or heavily, I mean, I don't see anybody competing against Florida. It's got to be Florida or Georgia. So the game is going to be super important. Our schedule should, we're going to be favorites in all those games. Even if Clemson gets us, that's not an SEC loss. Florida will have Alabama by then, so I think it'll be just like it was last year, kind of in reverse, where Florida's got to play Bama this year before they get to Jacksonville. So
Right.
I mean, we got to win that game, and the game, just like it should be, that means everything to Georgia season, and it's going to mean everything to Florida season. So I think we've got no excuses. I mean, we've got the talent we want. We've got our quarterback that seems to be the real deal. The quarterback sort of been the missing element since 2018 Jake Fromm, and we just gotta get it done. We kept our OC, kept our DC. We've got everything in place. No more excuses. We got to get to over the hump, and that on that way to that hump is Florida in Jacksonville. Got to win. FTMF.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and I think the inclusion of Alabama on Florida's schedule basically means that they can't lose another conference game and still go to Atlanta. It's really hard to fathom Georgia losing 2 conference games with that schedule. Auburn is always like a crapshoot, especially playing them in Auburn. Like they can get that kind of butts out Auburn energy sometimes, where they just sort of come out of nowhere and play a great game. But it's hard to imagine that happening in year 1 of Brian Harsin. So it's like the Florida game, if Georgia wins it, there's no way that they're not going to Atlanta. But like the reality is that Georgia should win that game, and they should win that game by 14 or more points. Honestly, if we're being honest about what's coming back for both teams. Dan Mullen himself said that the team we saw play Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl was next year's team, and so if that is next year's Florida team, then I expect Georgia to beat the ever living shit out of them. I do think this is an opportune time. You brought up what Georgia has coming back, but Georgia returns, I believe, 95.8% of their receiving production, which is in the world of advanced statistics, and particularly in Bill Connolly, who started S&P Plus's world, that is a big bellwether stat in terms of who is going to be successful in the year ahead. I don't remember anyone ever returning that much receiver production, frankly. I could be wrong, but I don't remember any like contender ever bringing back that much. So it sets up well for Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to my nerd EPA stuff, I mean, pass EPA and passing efficiency separates the good offenses from the great offenses, or the great offenses from the good offenses. So, and we tracked this last year, me and Nathan, about passing EPA with JT Daniels versus, and passing efficiency versus Stetson and Dwan. And so, yeah, and we've got not just returning production, because Georgia Tech returned an incredibly high percentage of their offense, but their offense wasn't any good. Georgia's offense with Pickens and Burton and the kid out of Florida, the speedster, that
Smith.
got it. Yeah, Smith. And I mean, those guys are legit home run threats every time they go out. So yeah, we're all excited. We've been excited since Kirby, got over the hump in 2017, and we just got to get it done. And hopefully there won't be any bonehead mistakes. There won't be any suspensions, and God forbid any injuries. And we do it. We get it done. I mean, this is our year. I feel like. And Kirby's recruiting at a level that it's not going to. This is not our only window. It's not. We're not. It's. We've got another quarterback in the wings. It's not. The end of the world if we don't get it. But daggone, man, the excuses are running out, and Lord knows we'll be reminded of the shortcomings by it's by 4 simple digits that seem to show up in all our comments.
Yeah, 100%. So to close out the schedule, Georgia has their single bye week is the week before Florida, as we said, and then following Florida, Missouri comes to Athens, which could be considered a little bit of a trap game. Honestly, Missouri might very well be the second or third best team in the East, depending on how good Florida is. And then following that, you go up to Knoxville and play Tennessee, which will be fascinating to see where that whole situation is by late November of next year. Heupel could have them kind of moving in the right direction, or it could be a situation like we've seen the last few years with Tennessee where they start the season okay and then it just kind of snowballs into disaster. Charleston Southern comes to Athens on November 20th. Don't think we need to worry too much about that one. And then Georgia Tech is back on the schedule November 27th. They come to Athens as well.
No, that's in Atlanta. We got a home game in Atlanta. It's a home game. It's just not in Athens.
I'm sorry. It is in Atlanta, but it might as well be in Athens.
Yes, exactly.
There'll still be a lot of red in the stands. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's like I wrote an article last year when the schedule changes happened, kind of advocating for, like, taking Georgia Tech off the schedule and replacing them with Clemson every year because I don't think Georgia has much to gain by playing that series at this point. But I will say, like, after it'll have been 2 full years since we've seen Georgia Tech at that point, and after just kind of all of the snipping from a team that was as bad as basically any team in Division I college football that still wanted to talk smack to Georgia fans on Twitter last year, like, it'll feel really good to beat the shit out of Georgia Tech again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll ever be on board with ditching that series.
I know.
I mean,
it was a hot take.
It was a hot take.
It was a controversial take, but
we've got enough. We've got enough, and with the 12-game schedule, I mean, it's like maybe should the SEC go to a 9-game that date becomes a little more precious. But for the time being, good old clean fashioned hate or whatever we call it is good by me.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, I mean, we've turned the page to 2021. Here's the schedule. We've got a little tease of it. We've got the final signing day coming up, the late signing day coming up. And then we'll just hunker down into the stretch run and basketball, and then be the Masters and the G Day. So let's just hopefully we can stay safe and everybody can, we can return to some sort of sports normalcy.
Yeah, 100%. I think one thing that is interesting that just came across my wire is 24/7 Sports did update their list of 5-stars today. Their whole recruiting rankings, but
it's 2022 or 2021.
This is 2021. This is the final rankings for this recruiting class that I guess finishes up, here in the first week of February. February 6th, I believe, is signing day. Or no, February 3rd.
Did you retweet it by any chance?
I did not. I'm sorry. I will. I'll just read it out to you though. So Amarius Mims is now the 14th ranked prospect in the country, 5-star offensive tackle out of Bleckley County down there. Nyland Green has been bumped to the number 18 prospect in the country. He is now a 5-star defensive back. The one that is really fascinating that got a huge bump is, and this is a guy that we spent a lot of time talking about on our early signing day breakdown and showed a lot of film of him, but Tyrion Ingram Dawkins is now a 5-star defensive tackle. So he went from a 3-star to a 5-star in one ranking cycle, which is pretty fascinating. And Smell Mondon comes in right after him as a 5-star as well, which he was kind of a borderline 5-star to begin with. But basically, Georgia has 5-star players. Number 18, 19th, and 20th ranked players in the country are all UGA signees. Brock Vandegrift did lose a star, which I feel like is an interesting one just because he did play his whole season with a knee injury where some of these guys that are ranked ahead of him didn't play any high school football this season. So it's kind of interesting. But Georgia has 4 or 5 stars in their class. So it's kind of
ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, not bad at all. We'll take
it. And I put this tweet out last night, sort of college football data. Another shout out to those guys. I couldn't do 90% of what I do without those generous folks. But, I was able to compile of going into the late signing day, the 2018 through 2021 recruiting classes, and sort of averaged it out. And Georgia is right there with Alabama and right there with Ohio State. And then there's a drop off with Oklahoma. I mean, I'm sorry, with LSU and Texas A&M are all right there. So Georgia's got the talent on that roster. I mean, granted, some of that rating still has what's his name, Justin Fields, still in there from the 2018 class. So it's not perfect, but it tells you that. And I actually filtered out and looked at our defensive back recruiting over that era, and we've got some studs. But Texas was surprisingly good in defensive back recruiting over that 4-year span. So, but we'll get into some recruiting a little later because I know we want to do a show for that.
Yeah. So last thing that we want to cover today is Georgia does have a new defensive backs coach. Charlton Warren, our previous DB coach, left to become defensive coordinator at Indiana, which is good for him. Congratulations. That's definitely a promotion for a program that's on the rise. But Georgia has hired Jamil Addae, or I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right. I haven't heard anyone say it yet. So if I'm not, I apologize. Maybe it's Jamil Addae. He is currently, or was, the defensive backs coach at West Virginia. What's interesting is, looking at the statistics for defense for this season, West Virginia had the number one pass defense in the country for 2020's football season. They allowed only 157 completions on the year and had the least amount of total passing yards allowed of anyone. So that's a good sign. Looking at it, I don't think either of us have had time to really dive deep into it, but it looks like the guy has a long history of taking 3-star prospects and turning them into, guys that are giving you 4-star and even low 5-star kind of production. So I think that's kind of what Georgia needs. Warren was a great recruiter and, a good guy and a good coach, but I don't think it would be unfair to say that Georgia's defensive back room has underperformed in comparison to their ratings coming out of high school for the last couple of seasons. So having a guy that's used to doing less with more and kind of developing talent year by year, it'll be really exciting to see what he can do with a guy like a Nyland Green or even some of these guys that have been in the program for a little while. If Green really is the number 18 player in the country, then you can probably expect him to come in and play star next year, where Stevenson was before transferring to Miami in the offseason. And then you've got Ringo. I would be pretty surprised if Keely Ringo is not one of the starting boundary corners. So it'd be very interesting to see who kind of fills out that other spot. But so far, the reaction to the hire seems very positive. West Virginia fans are pissed, which is always a good sign. But yeah, he played at West Virginia and ironically enough, actually forced a fumble against Georgia in the 2005 Sugar Bowl that I was at, that happened in Atlanta and was a really miserable day. So, life comes full circles sometimes.
I know I always wanted to have like a little tweet from UJ Nihilus that would have been a good chance for him to remind us that he was on the field for that Sugar Bowl.
100%.
That was a Katrina Sugar Bowl that was at the Dome, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. We beat LSU in the SEC title game. They were like the number 3 team. And I think we broke Jamarcus Russell's arm or separated his shoulder in the first half. And Matt Flynn came in. And Tim Jennings had a pick 6 to seal it. But that was a good day. The next time we were in Atlanta was a bad day. That's how it goes sometimes. Do you have any closing thoughts? Yeah. On the hire or anything?
I've been crazy busy doing other stuff. So, I mean, I knew that we were going to get a good guy. I thought the position was valuable enough to people looking to move up and stuff. And that's the mark of a good program, is having good candidates that want to come play, and also having candidates for come leave your program because they're valuable to other programs. So, I mean, things are looking up, 2021, here we are, just another year of what might be.
Well, and yeah, for sure. I mean, I think everything's set up. I would say just, try. It'll be interesting to see kind of how the off-season hype plays out and all of that. But
It'd be interesting to see. It's going to be off.
well, 2007 was the last time we were in this, or 2008, excuse me, was the last time we were in the spot. Like, that was my sophomore year of college, and we were number one all off season, and don't get me wrong, like I embraced it and I talked plenty of shit to my friends that went to other schools about it. But the reality was that there was star power on that team in certain positions, but it was always very clear that like the line of scrimmage was not very good on either side of the ball, and that everyone just was so like in love with Noshawn and Stafford and AJ Green and all of that talent. This team doesn't really seem to have that glaring hole at this moment. The secondary is the biggest question mark for sure. So it'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye on things coming through spring practice and G-Day and how that progresses.
We're going to have a lot of new bodies in the secondary, but there's a lot of talent. It's not like we're not deficient in talent back there. It's just we haven't seen these guys. No. And yeah, Kelly Ringo was hoping to play. He should have been, if he hadn't been injured, he would have been a contributor in this year. So things are looking up. But it's been fun, Graham. Thanks for I'm glad we jumped on here. It wasn't as always. We always had a couple glitches and no fancy stuff, no playback. But we're back at it, and we'll be back at it soon. So this is fun.
Yeah, totally. So you can definitely find us here on the DawgSports feed. Like I said, you can also find us at the DawgSports Live SB Nation YouTube. And we don't really have a schedule for this right now. We're going to kind of take these as they come in the off season, and when there's things that are worth talking about, we're going to get on here and talk about them. But we really want to paint with a little bit bigger brush in terms of talking about the SEC more, and not just being super Georgia specific.
We're going to do a lot. Matters. Yeah, we're going to do a lot more. We're going to still do the tape breakdowns and that sort of stuff, right. But we're going to have more content on DawgSports because there's more people to carry the load.
Yeah, totally. And, we definitely want to get some of the other guys on DawgSports involved. There's a lot of talented people involved with that website. And, of course, our good friends, Nathan and Justin, will always be around and in the fold as well. And
I'll definitely be nerding it out in the Chapel Bell Discord, sharing stats and stuff. And that's a fun community of guys that have been there and got us going. So this is fun.
Yeah, totally. This has been fun. And we hope that you guys, more than anything, we really hope that those of you that find the show will engage with us and argue with us and, tell us when we're wrong and why we're wrong, and maybe even fans from other teams. We'd love to, hear you needle us back. So come find us. There's a lot of ways to find us. That is Josh Hancher at dog_stats on Twitter. I am Graham Coffey. You can find me at DogOutWest on Twitter, and also as writing as DogOutWest on DawgSports.com. And we will be around. So you guys have a great rest of the day, and thanks for joining us.
Peace.